Hey YouTube, this is my Maxx Hero deck profile, and I strongly believe that Maxx Heroes have a pretty good matchup against the meta if piloted correctly and built well. So if you're a budget player, I strongly recommend Maxx Heroes to pick them up and beat some opponents with it. So without further ado, this is my Maxx Hero deck profile. So starting off, we play 3 Shadow Mist, 2 Bubble Man, and 1 Wild Heart. Now, the reason why I play Wild Heart over Alias is because Wild Heart can set up your plays and your strategy and progress your strategy forward, whereas Alias is just a beater. So that already tells you something about their build, is that if they're running Alias in the chance that they have to play the slow grind game with Alias just beating monsters, that's not a very good place to be in the first place. So if they're accounting for that, I would kind of question their deck's consistency. So Wild Heart does a lot more for the deck. It can go into Dion to set up Shadow Mist, and then go into Dark Law. So you essentially end up with a Dion and a Dark Law to beat up anything over 2400. So that's why I strongly believe Wild Heart is a better pick. And then we have 2 Summoner Monks and 2 Goblinbergs. Obviously these are critical to trigger your Shadow Mist, have more consistent ways to get your Dark Law out, and good rank 4 fodder. And then for the spells, we got Rhoda, triple a Hero Lifts. Obviously consistency is very key in this deck. If you do not open up with a Maxx Hero play, you are kind of going up an uphill battle. I've seen a lot of YCS tournaments or World Championship qualifier events where I see the hero player not able to open up Dark Law, and they're just crying for their mass change. They're just in a world of hurt without consistently going into their win condition, Dark Law. So with that, you have 16 cards to translate into monsters between your 10 monsters and your 6 search spells. And then a 42 card deck gives you a pretty good statistical chance of opening up just 2 monsters and the rest being a backrow. Because obviously you want to summon Dark Law, but at the same time have multiple backrow to protect him. It's basically like protect the castle strategy. The longer he stays on the board, the more problems he's going to give to your opponent. Same style with 6 Samurais. Obviously if you spit out your hand with 6 Samurais and then they just nuke your field, like once they get rid of the Xian or whatever monster, the rest of the monsters are just throwaway. Like they can just easily get over them. So obviously what's more threatening to your opponent is going to be Dark Law with multiple backrow rather than a full field of monsters and Dark Law. There aren't any like rank 4s that can really hold the field like Dark Law does or control your opponent. I mean, there is Dweller, but I mean, other than that, there's nothing really worth rank 4ing into, because most of the rank 4 monsters are toolbox effects that answer your opponent's plays rather than control. So for your other spells, you got 3 Mass Change, and then you also run 2 Mass Change Seconds. Now a lot of hero players don't run this card simply because it's a minus, and I can see why that is, but obviously the way I see it is Mass Change Second gives you a lot more consistency of opening up Dark Law, and also if you don't, in the case that you don't open up with Dark Law, which does happen, I mean, no deck is going to be 100% accurate or consistent with their opening plays that they want. But this just gives you another way of opening up Dark Law, and I'd rather take the minus myself rather than sit behind 5 back row and try to slow my opponent down. Because either way, in either situation, whether it's me activating Mass Change Second or me just sitting behind multiple back row with no Dark Law, you're taking the minus anyways, because when you try to play your traps and you got no Dark Law to, you know, stun your opponent, you're pretty much burning through your traps. So Mass Change second, I consider it as a good investment, because if you take a look here, there's also some combos you can do, especially with Goblinberg. So if you have Goblinberg by itself, like, it does happen sometimes. I've played this deck enough times where I've seen all the types of hands that you can get. So if you open up Goblinberg and no other like ways to get Shadow Mist to get it off, you can still Mass Change second Goblinberg into Dion, and then obviously Dion will summon the Shadow Mist, and then there you have two beaters, a Dion and a Dark Law. So I mean, the Dion will recover your minus anyways, so that's a good way to use it, so you can be a lot more consistent with it. And then the other combo you can use with Mass Change second is, let's say you have Summoner Monk, Mass Change second. Let's see. Let's just give like a really standard, like just a sample hand basically. So let's say this was your starting opening hand. Pretty good hand. Now most players would say, oh, you know, I can just make a Dark Law and set 3 back row, one just being a bluff. But no, I say you have a better option here. So what you do is you summon the Monk, pitch the spell, summon the Shadow Mist, get your second Mass Change, just a regular one. So now you got 6 cards total on your field. Set all your cards, just pretend these are set so you can see what they are. And basically you got double Dark Law. So when it's their turn, during their standby phase, Mass Change your Shadow Mist for your Dark Law, and then search a hero with the Shadow Mist. So now you're still at 6 cards, but what your opponent doesn't know is you got the second Mass Change to go into the second Dark Law. And that's really powerful, because they think, oh, so I just got to play around this one Dark Law and I can just beat over it and get rid of the Summoner Monk. That's cool. He has some back row, but as long as I take care of that Dark Law, I'm pretty good. But so if I was playing against Nekroz, they'd see I have a card in hand. They might think of, you know, going into Unicorn and then Trishula. So what I would do is when they activate Manju, Senju, or whatever, I discard, activate Mass Change second, bam. So while they were expecting to only get 1 card banished from their hand, now I'm getting rid of 2. So if they were activating a 1-for-1 card like Rhoda instead of a plus like Manju or Senju, now they only have 4 cards in their hands, while you have 2 Dark Laws and 2 back rows to back your Dark Laws up. So for your opening hand of 5 cards, I'd say this is a pretty dominating field, you know, given that they don't have something like Raigeki or something. But I mean, if they have Raigeki, they have it, but I mean, come on, this is a really powerful field. They get you -2 your opponent while setting up this. That's just really, really powerful. So that's why I say don't be afraid of the minus that Mass Change second has. It really can set you up for plays that you wouldn't have made anyways due to your inconsistencies had you not run the Mass Change second. So I'd rather take the minus myself again rather than sitting behind traps and hopefully I get the Mass Change, the first one. So that's a good combo to use. So for the rest of the deck, we have 3 Mass Charge. These help offset the minus that Mass Change second has, and it's a good OTK tool. You just set up your plays, and then you just set these, special summon a Bubble Man or something, and then, you know, activate, you know, summon more masked heroes, and then just go for game kind of thing. It's a good recovery tool. And then we run 2 Lance, 2 MSTs, and the 1 book. Obviously, you want to get rid of Fiendish Chains, you know, anything that they set, end phase, MST, you know, get rid of stuff. And also, mainly, the only reason why I have these is for floodgates. Otherwise, if floodgate cards weren't a thing, I'd probably take these out, because I just have so much recovery plays that them outing my Dark Law once or twice is not going to hurt me that much. So MSTs is mainly for Qliphorts, basically decks that have floodgates, and the lands to protect your Dark Law from, you know, Raigeki and stuff. Then for the traps, we run triple Call the Haunteds, 1 Oasis, 4 Call the Haunteds essentially. Now, the reason why you want to run 4 Call the Haunteds and 3 Mass Charges is essentially because what I found was playing this deck, I've tried builds where I would try to maximize the amount of defensive traps, but I wouldn't get much efficiency out of those traps, because like I said before, if you are just sitting behind 5 back row and you're not doing anything to your opponent, you're only just delaying the inevitable. So by having these cards and being allowed to apply a lot of pressure to your opponent with, you know, all your Dark Laws and your Acids and, you know, Ankis, you're giving your opponent, you're putting pressure on your opponent to force them to respond to your field rather than you know, being passive and only trying to respond to your opponent. So you would get a lot more mileage out of your real defensive traps if you be a little more offensive here. And like the saying goes, you know, a good defense is also a good offense. So in this case, you know, I would play, I tried to play that really fragile game of trying to protect the 1 Dark Law I would manage to summon, but, you know, I can't consistently make another without these. So I would try to just take these, if I took these out for more defensive traps, I would just be like holding to dear life on this single Dark Law, and then once they get rid of it, all my traps, they're just basically 1-for-1s. Like if you were to trade 1-for-1 in card advantage, you're not going to win. All the decks out there, they generate so much advantage. You have to control the field, lay down the law with the Dark Law, and be able to consistently apply pressure by resummoning him, or, you know, putting out damage and forcing your opponent to stop your monsters, rather than, you know, deal 1 by 1 with your traps and eventually burning all your traps. So that's why 7 Mass Changes essentially. These are pretty much slow versions of Mass Change, except they're a little more versatile because you can go for rank 4 plays. And then for your real traps, you run 3 Fiendish, 1 Mirror Force, 1 Compulse, 1 Trap Tricks, 1 Void, 1 Warning, and 1 Bottomless. So you got some effect negations between the Fiendish Chains and the Trap Holes there. Obviously I don't want to get blown out by, you know, by Exciton and stuff. And the 1 Warning, yeah, I pay a lot of life points with the Hero Lives, but if you really think about it, the chances of you paying 2 a Hero Lives and top decking this at the wrong time is kind of slim, but the advantages outweigh the cons. So I mean, if you open up Dark Law with Warning, it's a really good play, or a really good setup. So I would say the pros outweigh the cons there. I mean, the small chance of you top decking this at the wrong time, it's worth it. It's too good not to run, especially with Dark Law. So with the extra deck, running 3 Dark Laws, because this is a very masked hero eccentric build. You want to have 3. The 1 Anki. You run 2 Acid, 2 Dions. Sometimes you would need to go into the second one, like for example, you summon 1 Acid and you're under skill drain, so you would mass change into a second one and dodge the skill drain there, or dodge, you know, Bottomless, Compulse, things like that for when you summon Dion. So that's why I play all those masked heroes. Then for the rank 4s, we run Dweller, Blade Armor Ninja, Ragna 0, Excalibur, and I don't have it, but this is supposed to be Castell. I'm just waiting for the reprints. I used to have an ulti one, but I sold it because it's a lot of money, and I'm not much of a rarity whore, so that's supposed to be a Castell. So yeah. So that was my deck profile. Just let me know in the comment section what you thought about my build, and yeah, just leave a comment. Thanks.